All right. Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today for the second episode of Workforce Edge Live. My name is Christine McLean-Lewis, and I am the marketing manager at One on One Educational Services Limited. Today, I have with me Mr. Michael Mullings, who is a technology entrepreneur with 12 years of experience. He is the founder and CEO of ChatFlow Limited, an AI powered customer engagement platform built to help medium to large enterprises in emerging markets deliver faster, smarter, and more human first support. I love that Michael is making big waves in the Caribbean with his company, and I know I've known Michael for a while, and one of the things that I admire about him is that he's very dedicated and committed to whatever he puts his mind and his heart into, and his mind and his heart is into helping Caribbean organizations improve customer service across the board. So I have invited him to be the guest for this episode because we're talking about customer service in the age of AI. And as you know, those who have watched this before, we're just doing a short discussion, 15 minutes. So it's going to be rapid fire, going through some questions and hearing Michael's thoughts on customer service in the age of AI. So if you're watching, please let us know. Let us hear where you're joining us from. If you're joining us from Jamaica, if you're joining us from somewhere else in the Caribbean, leave a comment and we'd love to engage with you. If you have questions throughout, feel free to leave a comment and we'll ensure that Michael answers them. So let's start with the first question. Customer service has changed a lot with AI and automation. I'm sure everyone agrees with that. From your perspective, Michael, what are customers expecting from businesses now?
That's a great question. But before I answer, thank you, Christine, for having me. And Christine is being modest. We know each other for more than a decade. But it's a pleasure to be here and talk a little bit more about my experience in this space. So let's jump right in. I think the most important thing that people would differentiate, or the new differentiator for customer service, is really speed. But in my honest opinion, that is now the floor. You see, what customers expect has changed over the last decade. So let's talk about this. You've gone into some form of engagement channel and you've stated your problem. The real concern is that no customer wants to repeat themselves 20 minutes after speaking to some form of automation to somebody else. So the most important thing that we need to solve for first is, solving for that frustration part, because most of these automations are what I like to call amnesia. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that there's an expectation of transparency. Don't keep telling the same customer who have explained their issues multiple times that you're going to solve it and it doesn't get solved. They want clear expectations on timelines, what's going to be resolved, who's going to own it, when you're going to follow. And then no customer wants to feel tricked. So the last thing that is important to consumers right now is an exit. The Data Protection Act talked about having customers or consumers the ability to opt out and get to a human being. So they want to know that a human is reachable, even though they don't necessarily use it, but they want to know it's there for them. So those are three things: the amnesia problem with automation, the expectation of transparency, and finally an exit for the consumer. Those are the three new things that are important, because AI has made speed, the breadwinner for everybody at this point in time. It's democratized that.
I agree wholeheartedly, Michael, because there are times when I'm speaking to an AI chatbot and I have to be repeating myself 2, 3 times before I'm actually getting a solution to my problem, and it's very frustrating. I see
Yep.
that Sabrina C is joining us from Jamaica. Nice to have you, Sabrina. And remember, if you have any questions for Michael as we go through this conversation, feel free to ask. So we're going to go into the next question now, Michael. Where do you see AI making the biggest difference in customer service today?
Oh, wow. I honestly believe that everything that happens before the human conversation starts. What do I mean? So the routing, the summarizing of the customer history, pulling the account context and drafting that first response. You see, coming from the BPO in a traditional contact center environment, that first 90 seconds on a call or chat agent is trying to figure out, what's going on with the customer when they do the greeting. They may seem a little bit disengaged, but the goal for AI now is to remove that so the agent can open the conversation in a more informed manner. You see, another big one is the after-hours support. Think of all the Jamaican SMEs that you've interacted with locally. Once it past 5 or 6 p.m., you ain't getting anyone. No one is there for you to solve your issues. If you have a problem, you have to wait till the next day. And worse, if it's on a Friday, that's a public holiday, you're not hearing anything until the next business day, right? But that's the challenge that AI needs to solve for. And I think that's where the biggest difference in terms of, what it's making easier for people to solve for, meaning that we have the context now. We're able to serve customers in like an omnipresence kind of way, meaning 24 hours, 365, which is what we've been exporting in the BPO. So my question to this really is, why are we not doing more of that when we have access to the tools,
So why do you think we're not doing more of that, Michael? You pose the question. What do you think?
That's a good point. I'm glad you're asking me that. It's cost. That's the first factor. And two, that's why my organization exists, creating a more affordable option for businesses to tap into those first world technologies that we can now own and deploy on our own and then compete competitively across the region. Because if your consumers can't get you, guess what? They're going to churn if they've already have a subscription, and they're going to go into somebody else that's answering them. So that's really the retort that I have to that. The cost, they need a more affordable solution that is reliable and that they can trust.
All right. So what are some customer service tasks that businesses can safely automate without hurting the customer experience?
That's a very good point. I think the rule we use in my own organization is that we automate the transactional and not the consequential. So what do I mean by that? So let's take a quick example. You want to get like something like an order status or claim, balance inquiry, maybe password resets in some environments, find out about opening hours, set an appointment, or do some form of document intake or acknowledge some receipt. You want to automate those things. But if the answer changes what the consumer feels about their money, their claim, and they're standing with you, keep a human in reach. That's what I think. And then automate the whole task or none of it. Because guess what? As you said, if a consumer gets to some form of automation and they get through 80% of it and it fails, it's just as bad as not having any automation at all, because you solve nothing for the customer more than taking them through steps. So the goal is automate the transactional and not the consequential. And when I mean transactional, it does not mean payment, guys. You want to talk about payment, ensure that you have the right certifications in place, SOC 2, ISO. I won't get too much in that, but you need to be ensured that your technology is up to scratch in terms of those frameworks to protect your consumers and, of course, your shareholders.
All right. I love that, Michael. And I think that leads well into the next question. Even with AI tools in place, what parts of customer service still need human judgment?
Wow, that's a big one. I would boil it down to, I keep it simple, 3 things. Expectation, where policy and fairness disagree, and someone has to decide which one wins. And the next one for me would be like ambiguity, where the customer doesn't actually know what they're asking for, and it takes a true deep conversation to find out what that is. The last piece for that, I would say, is accountability. When the company got it wrong and somebody has to own it, and an apology from a machine isn't going to work much to a customer. So there's another piece to this that I would add, and this is where I think HR departments could benefit, our audience would sit with. So once AI absorbs like a routine task or some form of ticketing, every ticket that is left in the queue should be something difficult. And I'm not saying this in a negative way, meaning it's something complex that requires critical thinking for a human to work through. That means the business can keep the same head count because they're not bogging down the staff with menial things that are repetitive. And it requires a much higher difficulty level or a much higher level of critical thinking to solve. And it changes now for the organization who they hire, how they train, and how fast people get burnout. Because now you're hiring the right people to think critically about a specific task. Or even if you don't hire, it means that you need to coach and develop your staff in such a way that they can handle these things, right? Because they're going to come up on a daily basis, whether they're rare or not, and you need to put the right frameworks and SOPs in place to keep your staff readily updated. Because there's some menial tasks that AI is going to inevitably take, because from a productivity standpoint, why would you burn your staff out with these menial things? Again, coming from the BPO myself, I've seen it. Being a leader in that space, I understand the nuances of that. And it's very important that we upskill our teams.
There's a question here from Sabrina C. She's asking, how will businesses trust AI to do things such as approvals? Back to the comment you made about it being a public holiday, etc., and won't be able to get through until the next business day. Can AI do basic approvals within companies? So do we see it moving in that direction?
That's a great question. I think AI can do that. Recently I made a post on LinkedIn that, the next layer for AI in terms of agentic AI is, building that layer that creates, how should I put this now? You guys understand what two-factor authentication is. We need to have a startup that builds something like that for AI agents. So we know that the approvals are done, goes through a framework of security processes before it is approved. But for right now, I think we really need a human in the loop at any point in time where approval needs to be done for anything AI-based. Again, from a security standpoint, from a trust, from a governance framework, that is what's needed right now. But I believe that someone will build that. And just to hint at it, I saw that someone that got into Y Combinator did build that when I made that post last Monday. So on Wednesday, I believe that I saw a post on Y Combinator talking about that company. That they've built that trust layer specifically for AI agents to do those types of approval on their own. Again, it comes with the company understanding what is required for the approval, training the model on those specific approval process, ensuring that SOP is there. And again, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You will have to do monitoring and evaluation. It's something that I do in my own organization. As mentioned to you, Christine, earlier in our pre-conversation, a lot of research goes into what I do, which is why, the patents that we've gotten over the last are in the process of filing as well, fall around that governance and trust framework of what AI is supposed to do, can do for organization, especially in regulatory frameworks. You have to be mindful of these things as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think her question also relates to what we're going to be talking about next, which is what mistakes do businesses make when they introduce AI into customer service without properly training their teams?
That's a good one. Again, if you put an automation on top of a system that doesn't have clear definitions, it's going to catalyze the failure even faster, right? It means that your entire process is going to fail. Where all the cracks that were not showing, even though they were there, it's going to get exposed because you put AI on top of it, because the AI is going to fail. It can only do what you garbage in, garbage out, right? So it's going to create a scenario where it's going to be cascading failures across everything that you do. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the examples talked about recently in the news on ABC, where there are a particular car dealership in the northwest of the US had an AI chatbot giving consumers discounts on cars that it wasn't supposed to. And this comes down to the type of guardrails that you put in place. So I can buy a Mercedes-Benz for $0 now because you didn't put the right guardrails in place for your AI agent. That's something that you don't want to do. So who's managing that? Where's the quality assurance behind it? I know you have to honor the customer's request. You can't tell them that they can't get it because the AI is, speaking on your behalf. It goes back to that 3 points that I mentioned to you. Well, the last one, mostly the accountability. Is the AI going to go in front of a judge, or is it your organization? So you have to have those guardrails and checks and balances in place to ensure that you protect the consumer and, of course, shareholders for the organization.
Agree 100%. And the training component is so important to help your team understand how to set these guardrails and how to do, as you said, the accountability checks, the approval checks, whatever needs to be done to ensure that the AI isn't doing foolishness, So
Correct.
we're going to close out with this question. As AI becomes more common in customer service, what will separate businesses that simply respond quickly from businesses that truly build customer trust?
Well, that's a really good one. For me, honestly, in my organization, I look at it like this. Trust is built on what happens when things go wrong. Any company looks good on the happy part, as I would like to say it. The businesses that earn trust are the ones where the escalation actually works, where the AI knows what it doesn't know and says so, and when humans on the other end, as the authority, fix something. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. See, fast is a feature, but trust is an operating decision, I would like to say. And it's mostly a workforce decision, if you'd want to put it as that, which is why it belongs on this show. Meaning that, again, if something goes wrong and you don't handle that well, you've eroded that customer's trust. You've effectively massacre your NPS and your CSAT, and no one will trust you. Nobody would want to work with you or use your products and services. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right, and I think you closed out on a good note, Michael. We did really well on time. So, as AI becomes more common in customer service, we really want to ensure that we're doing things that help the AI not mar the business's reputation, not mar the business's um, relationship with customers. And with that said, we one on one, we are hosting a customer service training workshop on August 12th. That's Wednesday, August 12th. It's completely free, and we are inviting business leaders to register their teams for this workshop. Our workshop presenter is going to be Mrs. Gina Tomlinson Williams from Jamaica Public Service. She has done workshops with us in the past, and people who attend always get something valuable from those sessions. So, as we discuss the importance of training in this Workforce Edge Live episode and the importance of ensuring that teams understand how to use AI effectively with customer service, we would love for you to join this free workshop on Wednesday, August 12th. Keep following our LinkedIn or YouTube or X or Instagram, Facebook pages to see updates on that workshop and register your team. So, thank you, Michael, for being here with us. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your insights for this rapid fire discussion. Is there anything that you would like to say to close the discussion?
Sure. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here to share my insights. And I'm looking forward to charting a course for a greater mission for better customer service in this region. We don't just have to export it. We should ensure that we provide it to our local businesses and consumers. We can't keep saying that we're the best place for customer service if we don't do it right first.
Agree 100%. So thank you so much, Sabrina C, for joining us and anybody else who was with us today. And I look forward to hosting the next Workforce Edge Live. So bye everyone.